So what we did several years ago is we sent out a letter to every business in Shelbyville, our little town, and warned, because the year prior we had seen that all these businesses were giving money to the Pride event that showed up in our area. And so we're like, okay, next year we will make sure that all the businesses know exactly what they're supporting, and we will expose them.
Because some of them didn't.
Yeah.
So I got on the phone and called a bunch of them.
You-
And most of them were like, when I got the manager on the phone, they were like, dude, I had no idea that's what we were supporting.
Hi, folks. My name is Jerry Doris. This is Tanner Cartwright, and this is Snake on the Table. Brother, what's a snake?
All right. So our question this morning is, how do I stop pride events from happening in my town? So
I think that depends on the size of your town
Sure.
and how long they've been going and all kinds of stuff. Let's assume this is talking about small town because this is where it's going.
Yes.
It's been going this way.
this is what's happening. They're trying to do it in every tiny little town
Yeah.
in the country.
Yeah.
So I was talking to a friend a while back, little bitty town, Tennessee. Tiny little town, Trenton, Tennessee,
Yeah.
and they're trying to do them.
Yep.
They just want it everywhere.
Yep.
So they will never be satisfied till you are gay.
Yeah. Until you're celebrating it.
Until you are celebrating sodomy, they will not.
And
be
then they
content.
yell out, "Stop forcing your religion down our throats!"
Yeah.
Like, oh my goodness,
Sweet.
stop trying to have pride parades in my city.
Yes.
Yeah, I think about the legislators and the magistrates, like your
Yep.
mayor,
Yep.
those guys. You need to have courageous
They have a
men
responsibility to stop
to
this.
stop this nonsense. They would stop other things. They just have the Overton window has shifted, and now it's acceptable to be gay.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about this. I was asking you earlier about to think about what if we still had laws on the books that said homosexuality was
Here's the crazy thing. We do.
well, in some areas, yeah.
Do you remember talking to those legislatures?
Yeah.
Like, homosexuality technically is still illegal
Yeah.
in Kentucky.
Yeah.
And it's just like, we've just completely ignored the law.
We ignore the law. The
Yeah.
window has shifted. We just can't culturally. We don't have the community or
Yes.
state impetus to enforce those things.
Yes.
Yeah, which is wrong.
Because everyone's cowards.
Yeah, but so I would say still, if you've got a strong mayor,
Yes.
it's like, no way in heck this is going to happen in my city.
Well,
That's
this is
good.
one of the reasons.
Can you imagine if you were mayor? What would you do?
What a glorious 3 days that would be.
Driven out with.
Yeah, no, I mean, if I were mayor, yes, no, I mean, there would be no doubt. I wouldn't. I'd fight it. I mean,
It would not happen.
It wouldn't happen. I
would
don't
not
care. I
happen.
don't care if I had to live in a courtroom. It wouldn't happen.
Well, one, we are not going to allocate funds from our police department.
Funds.
Public funds will not be used to do that. So what that means is, if you're doing a parade, for example, you have to have public funds in order to have your
Shut
police
the
officers
road down
shut the
for
road
the
down.
parade.
All the stuff. City Works has to
Yes.
put barricades up and all that.
Well,
kind
and
of nonsense.
homosexuals are violent, and so you always have to have lots of cops.
Yes.
So like the Louisville Police Department, when they do the Louisville Parade, there has to be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cops
Yeah.
and SWAT teams and everything else.
So it takes taxpayer money to have those. So
Lots of it.
just stop for a second. That's one of the reasons. It offends God, but just from a community standpoint, your money
Yep.
as a taxpayer is going for this kind of nonsense.
Yes.
And then contrast that with like a Veterans Day parade.
Shoot.
Or a Christmas parade or something where it's honorable and it's good. No, we want to have a parade where we're celebrating sodomy.
Yeah, and teaching children and literally doing irreparable harm to children by teaching them this is an acceptable way to live.
Right. And so I'll also say this, we live in the shadow of Louisville, Kentucky.
Sure.
And of course, if you go around, we have
very
Lexington,
dark
we have
shadow.
Cincinnati, we have Indianapolis, we have some big cities that are around us, Nashville. And all those big cities have pride events. And
Ginormous
big
events.
stuff. So if that's your flavor, you have the places to go. But when you go to those places, it's really debaucherous.
Oh.
It's really bad. We've seen some really nasty
Yeah,
stuff that is allowed to happen. Now, in small town, they're still trying to make it family friendly and okay and acceptable. So they may have some parameters to make this more family friendly so that if they do have one, it's not, it's still bad, but it's not as bad.
Yeah.
And my argument, your argument is that it's coming.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time. All the nasty, all the perversion, all the stuff it's all perverse in our minds.
Yes. I mean, we're celebrating perversion. That's what it is. We're celebrating debauchery. We're celebrating things that are just unthinkable. And so, but yes, exactly to your point. So in the small town, there is still a recognition of some sense of propriety. So like you remember when we preached in Lexington, that was the most horrible thing ever. I preached to a young lady wearing nothing but stickers.
Yep.
And I it's not funny. I stood there and wept, because I was thinking, I had 3 daughters at home and she was a very young, probably 15, 16.
Yeah.
I don't even know, but she was literally in stickers. And I remember going to the cops asking, can y'all not
do something here,
do this or get her for indecent exposure, something.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't do anything.
Yeah.
And I believe that if that had been in Shelbyville, they would have done something.
Yeah.
So,
well, we want to hope.
We want to hope that, yes. But in small towns, there is more chance of that. But yeah, so this is why we need to be not only talking to our local officials and our mayor and letting them know what we want as their constituents.
Yeah.
And as citizens, we need to be very clear about what we want, and we need to push. But also, we need to be thinking about people around us or yourself, whatever the case may be, people that can run for office, that have a backbone, that will stand against this stuff.
Yeah.
Because so a great book by Matt Truella, good brother, The Doctrine of the Lesser Magistrates, and he goes through in that book. It's not a big one. Recommend everybody read it, but he goes through, how the doctrine of the lesser magistrates work and how the lesser authorities have the right and responsibility before God to resist the higher authorities trying to shove evil onto the people.
Yeah.
And so it's a great book. We should all read it and think about, raising up, those around us to be in civil magistrate positions.
Yeah.
That is something the church, I feel like, has really failed at. So we've sent a lot of young guys to seminary, made most of them gay, and we've effeminate, yeah, whatever. But we've sent, we want to raise up preachers, and we've got that kind of, we want to do that, but we haven't really had a vision for raising up civil magistrates, and we need to reinvigorate that.
Yeah.
Used to, that was, all of your civil magistrates were churchmen, all of them. And so, anyway, that needs to be
So that's a long-term strategy.
Yes.
Or that's 10-year strategy, 5-10-year strategy to stop this
20,
kind of
40,
stuff.
50, yeah.
I do feel, and I don't know how you feel about it, with Trump coming in office, and there's just been a bit of a shift, like a reprieve, the headlong rush over the cliff to
insanity.
Insanity and debauchery here has maybe stopped for a season. But Trump's he's not. He's just a populist guy. He's going to be whatever people want him to be.
He's not Asa.
Yeah, no. and so while I see things like DEI and stuff in the military and all that stuff being kind of dismantled, and you see people maybe in fear, not having the pronouns in their bios for a little bit, it's just a reprieve. They're coming back, and so this is why I think as we prepare here, in 2025, we want to be running for office. We want to be putting ourselves in positions.
The next 4 or 5 years are push years.
Yes.
We cannot back off an inch. We have to push and push and push and gain every bit of ground back that we can.
Yeah.
In my mind, Trump is a gracious opportunity for the church and God's people to push the darkness back.
Yeah. This isn't about Trump. Let's focus in on this. I think that where you can start now is by writing your mayors, get to know, as if you're a pastor especially, you need to know who your
100%
your police officers are.
Yep.
The actual officers, the chief of police, the sheriff, all of those kind of people. You need to be on a first name basis, waving at them, praying for them, letting them know that you pray for them. You need to know your mayor. You need to know your city councilman. You need to know your magistrates.
Yep.
Everybody in a political office, because they actually are going to control purse strings and stuff. I think you need to be known in the business community. A lot of times businesses need, the LGBT community wants local business involvement, financial involvement.
Usually they have to have some level of support.
They have to have financial support.
Yeah.
And so that's going to come from someone or some place, and they're going to try to get that from area businesses to support that. It used to be that was okay, and that was acceptable. And there's actually you had to pay it in order to be seen as accepting. So people were giving money to that. And this is one of the areas I think that we stopped it.
Yeah.
We literally stopped this, and we took a lot of flack from it. But so what we did several years ago is we sent out a letter to every business in Shelbyville, our little town, and warned, because the year prior we had seen that all these businesses were giving money to the Pride event that showed up in our area. And so we're like, okay, next year we will make sure that all the businesses know exactly what they're supporting, and we will expose them.
Because some of them didn't.
Yeah.
So I got on the phone and called a bunch of them. And most of them were like, when I got the manager on the phone, they were like, dude, I had no idea that's what we were supporting.
Yeah.
Like, they get requests for this stuff all the time.
Yeah.
So they're just like, writing off on stuff.
Yeah. And what they were supporting was the celebration of sodomy, the celebration of transgenderism, flaunting stories coming out in front of children, the exploitation of children.
Mostly naked men dancing in public.
Yeah, all that was happening. And then, yes, they're going to bill it as something that this is not, we're not Louisville. We're Shelbyville.
Yeah.
No. You need to understand it's all coming. All that vomit. You just tasting a little bit of vomit. Maybe it's not as bad, but all the chunks are coming with it.
They literally import the drag queens from all over the place, from Louisville and all these places.
Let's point that out.
Yeah.
So there is no way that little Shelbyville, Kentucky has the amount of LGBT.
The only thing we have is a small handful of confused teenagers.
Yes, we have that, and maybe 5 or 6 adults or whatever, and they've got this group. And so what they've done is like, we're going to celebrate. We're going to create a safe space for them. And then they brought in from Indiana, from all over the area. There's drag queens and all the support. This is how they do. It's the gay mafia. They come in, they support each other in all these different areas and make it look like it's bigger than it is. And it's just literally a handful of people wanting to celebrate their perversion in public and getting everybody else to agree with them.
Yep. And they will never be content just going to Louisville.
No.
Ever. It has to happen in Shelbyville.
Yeah.
Because they're militant.
Yes.
And we need to recognize them as
They're
militant.
expanding into these little areas.
Yes.
So we contacted the businesses. We took a lot of flack from that. But the year after we contacted the businesses was where it really showed up.
Yep.
That the effect of that. The effect was that this little community of LGBT could not get financial support from any of the businesses.
Yep.
And the businesses that said they did support them, literally, we've got video, like a news outlet came out and they're like, we can't publicly support you, but we do support you. We're for you, but we can't be seen as publicly supporting you.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Yep.
So just because one church sent a letter to all the businesses and made it public, we were able to cut the financial section off. Now, this group ended up getting money from deep pocket lawyers to do something. But anyways, that's...
Well, so, and we specifically, we had a picture, I don't know, maybe this large, I can't remember how big it was, that we sent.
Printed on the back of the page.
Of the back of it was one of the drag queens, one of the dudes, acting like a woman, being in a suggestive stand. It was a grotesque picture, obviously.
Showing his groin.
If it had been a woman, it would have been grotesque, like it would have been bad. But it's so that much worse with a man trying to be perverted in that way. Yeah. So, and we were accused by a magistrate, a local magistrate, of trying to take away people's civil rights.
The civil right to show your groin in front of children.
That's the level of ignorance.
This is such stupid.
Yeah.
So let it be known, if anybody's watching this, is that we will, as a church, and we've grown. Yeah. It's not just us as a church. It's other churches and it's other Christians and it's other businesses and all this kind of stuff, that we will expose you.
Yeah.
We will come to your place and we will expose you. This is what happened with the Barrel Room. The Barrel Room was doing pride events, and guess who's there every single time?
We're not going to miss one.
We will not miss it. We will be there, rain or shine.
Yeah. Because we love Shelbyville.
We love Shelbyville. I love Shelbyvillians. I love this community, and it is a Christian area.
Yes.
And because of that, we cannot tolerate what God hates.
Yeah.
And I've taken flack. I've gotten death threats.
I love the people of Shelbyville, but frankly, I'm going to raise my children. I am raising my children, and hopefully all my grandchildren will be raised in Shelbyville, Kentucky.
Yeah. And
I've got nieces and nephews. You know, my dad's got 21 grandkids.
Yeah.
It's like, I do not want Shelbyville to become the absolute abomination that Louisville, Kentucky has become.
Yeah.
And so that's...
Because Louisville's expanding. There's going to be 20 years from now, Shelbyville will be seen the way we see Eastwood, or the way we see, other, little cities outside that become Louisville. That's what it's going to look like.
Or or a bigger city that's its own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's happening.
Yeah.
And this, we just want to make this is not going to happen here.
Yeah.
Not under our watch, not without protest, not over my dead body.
Well, and this is how you legitimately affect change, because if you try to go top down, you cannot affect change.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about this before, where if someone like me could never have any influence over Joe Biden or whatever, or if Trump or whatever, or a very low chance. But the normal everyday Christian can have a huge influence in their local community. And if all the small towns in America said no to this, that would be it.
Yeah.
And it would literally, when the small towns are able to influence the state, and then the state influences the nation.
Yeah.
So that's the way we need to be thinking.
Yeah, we're very much local in our mindset.
I can affect local. The local guys know me.
Yeah.
And so I can have an effect.
And a lot of this just comes down to a guy's decision. One man's decision, or maybe a little committee.
Yeah.
So let's talk about why little communities feel like they're held hostage and they have to allow this kind of stuff. I think that like pastors specifically, they have bought the lie, one, that in order to reach these people, we must accept them for their lifestyle. That's how we are relevant to them, is by being inclusive and
worked out good for Lot, didn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. No, it did not work out well for him.
Yeah.
So that's the lie that many people, and we know good pastors. Well, they're not good pastors. I think they're bad pastors because they're weak on this particular issue. Is that they think in order to reach the lost, they've got to become the lost and accept the lost in their lostness.
Yeah.
And that makes you irrelevant to them.
Yeah.
Because you and I we've seen this. We have spoken more with the LGBT community than all the pastors in Shelby County combined.
100%. Yeah.
Just by going to an event and talking to them and preaching the gospel to them, and then having one-on-one dialogue,
Yep.
Yeah, I just want to say that out there. So if local churches are like, no, this won't happen in our community, we're going to stop this.
Yep.
Because the mayor's in your church.
Yep.
All these people, and they're all buying this lie.
Yep.
That in order to accept it, reach this community, we got to accept them.
Yes. So 20 years ago or 25 years ago, if you think back to 2000, this thing was unthinkable.
Yep.
And all churches would have said, yeah, of course that's evil and wrong, and we will stand against it. But they didn't. And now all churches would say, well, we will stand against, the pedophilia, that being normalized.
Yeah.
No, you won't.
No, you're going to compromise.
You'll cave on that.
You'll cave on
You
pedophilia.
think that's impossible, but you will cave on a grown man messing with a 10-year-old girl.
Yeah.
Because you were not able to stand up on this. I just promise you'll cave.
Yeah.
And that's unthinkable. And so those that will not stand up on when it's the little issues, the scripture says, he who's faithful in much will be faithful. He's faithful in a little will be faithful in much.
Yeah.
And so we need to help each other and help our churches. Courage is contagious.
Yep.
We need to help. And we've got this lie in our mind that if we call it out as sin and just say what it is and be very blunt about it, that it's hateful.
Yeah.
But
I do hate the ideology, and I do hate that we've talked about that hate contrast.
Sure, but the idea that that doing any of those things is hating these people, No, that's a lie. And the problem is this right here exposes it. No one would make that argument about Nazis. Mm-hmm. No one would make that argument about some crazy alt-right group, where it's like, well, we gotta love Nazis. You can't oppose them. If you oppose them, then they won't realize you love them and care about them. And you're just not trying to reach them the right way, brother.
Yeah.
That's not the right approach.
Yeah.
No one would make that argument
just
about Nazis.
Substitute the word homosexual or LGBT or trans or any of that with Nazi.
Yeah.
And you will see
KKK.
Or pedophile currently.
For the moment,
you can say, hey, you got to love the pedophile in order to receive them. You can't
Brother,
condemn them.
They're not pedophile. They're minor attracted.
Yeah, that's hopefully saying that it helps you realize the absurdity of the position that many Christians take. So, how do we stop pride events, pride parades, pride events?
Yeah,
I think you got to change the mindset of the church.
Yep,
that this is possible. You've got to go after the legislators and your magistrates.
We have got to stop thinking defensively and think offensively.
Well, offense happens even now is where you don't even have a pride event in your area, and you write to local businesses and say, hey, look, as a church, we're concerned about these things. We've seen it happen in these small communities, and we just want you to hear from us as local pastors that we don't want to see this kind of stuff. And so if you are a business that thinks that you want to support that, we just want you to know we will stand against you.
Yep.
Something that, and then maybe it's a letter. Maybe it's as you walk around and you're talking to different shop owners to talk about these kind of things.
Yeah.
And I would say the same thing for witchcraft.
Yeah.
So witch fests
100%.
are just pouring in. So the LGBT community and witchcraft community are like one. They're the same.
They're hand in hand.
They're hand in hand. So that's
demonic.
why we've ended up, and the abortion issues. It's all together. It's just if you were doing a Venn diagram, it's just one big circle on top of the other. So those are how I would just from a before it ever happens.
Yep.
Now let's talk about it's happening.
Yep.
And I got a couple thoughts on that. So there's parades and there's events.
Yep.
And so we've done events quite a bit, not just in Shelbyville, but elsewhere, where we literally physically go to the event and we exert our rights to open air preach on public sidewalks and places. We use amplification. We've got signs. We stand out there and we proclaim the gospel.
So the last one they did, they tried to keep us out by charging a $1 surcharge. Yep. We just all paid our $1.
Paid the buck.
We just paid the $1 and went in.
Drove them nuts.
Yeah.
We went around,
We were filming everything. They had their security trying to block us from filming.
Bought our ticket.
Yeah, we had our ticket.
So they thought, they'd said on there that this $1 goes for helping kids transition.
Yeah.
Like, whatever,
They thought that we wouldn't
pay that heartbeat.
So
make it $20.
We got in
we
there.
will be in your
and
event.
We showed up with, I can't remember how many men.
We had 39 that year.
39. I thought it was about 40. So 40 men in this event, we shut them down.
Yeah.
They had to leave. They left hours before they were scheduled to be done.
Yeah.
Like it was 3 or 4 hours before.
We outnumbered them.
By the end of it, there was more of us than them standing there. It got awkward.
Yeah.
They were all looking at us like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And we weren't being aggressive. We're just going around having conversations.
Yeah.
And talking to the young people.
Yeah, it's not like we're belligerent or military or anything.
No, we're filming with our phones, which they hated because they had little bitty kids throwing money at dudes dancing, like half dressed, half naked, acting like women.
Yeah.
Unthinkable things are happening. And they know it.
Yeah.
And so they hated us filming and taking pictures and everything.
Yeah.
And so it got me cracked up because everybody was focused on me. They kept attacking me, and Dustin Berry's just standing there filming the whole time.
Yeah.
but yeah, so that it just shut it down.
Yeah. There's the during the event.
Yeah.
Then we also had some post things that we did. So we took all that video footage and we actually made a video of that to broadcast to Shelbyville. And what that does is that puts on pressure for the next year and the next time to recognize, look, you will be exposed if one, you're bringing your children to this stuff. Two, if you're a business that's part of this, you're going to be exposed.
Yeah.
We're not going to hold back.
Well, and some of the...
I may even cut that in here so people see that video that we did. because we took this, even homosexuals, there's a group called Homosexuals Against Pedophilia or whatever it is like that, which is whatever. But this one, Drags Against. Yeah, this guy's like, why are you bringing your children to a drag show? This is an adult event. So we've got this drag queen talking through this, exposing them.
Yeah.
What in the hell has a drag queen ever done to make you have so much respect for them and admire them so much? Other than put on makeup and jump on the floor and writhe around and do sexual things on stage. I have absolutely no idea why you would want that to influence your child. Would you want a stripper or a porn star to influence your child? It makes no sense at all. A drag queen performs in a nightclub for adults. There is a lot of filth that goes on, a lot of sexual stuff that goes on. And backstage, there's a lot of nudity, sex, and drugs. Okay? So I don't think that this is an avenue you would want your child to explore. To actually get them involved in drag is extremely, extremely irresponsible on your part. And I understand you might want to look like you're with it, that you're cool, that you're woke, that you're not a Nazi, that you're not a homophobe, whatever it may be. But you can raise your child to be just a normal, regular, everyday child without including them in gay, sexual things. We have already had a reputation of being pedophiles and being perverts and deviants. We don't need you to bring your children around. So you keep your kids at home, or take them to Disneyland, or take them to Chuck E. Cheese. But if you need your child to be entertained by a big human in a costume or in makeup, take them to the circus or something.
No, you're not. You're like I'm in from a house right now. You're not teaching anybody.
And of course, what he's exposing is the unbelievable insanity that, and I've talked to some of the cops about this. Like, if there were women doing this public, if this were like they're acting like it's a strip club.
Yeah.
And they're dressing and walking and doing all these things provocatively. If there were women doing that, no one would ever think to take their children to that.
Right.
To see women.
Yeah.
But
for some reason,
you can have a guy do it. And I'm telling you right now, any of you listening to this, if you are in Shelbyville and you are not fighting against this stuff, you are allowing young boys to be taught that being sodomized is acceptable. And you will take 20 years off of their life. A young boy, a male.
That's the CDC tells us
the CDC, according to the CDC, a homosexual lives 20 years less than a heterosexual.
Lifespan, yeah.
Lifespan, yes. Their life expectancy is like 56 years.
Yeah.
Because of the irreparable harm done to their body. And you are promoting these things, teaching that little boy that that's okay.
Yeah.
And his life will be hell.
Then that's just the physicality of it. Then you think about the spiritual.
You think about the eternal
aspects of this as somebody who's
this stuff damns people body and soul.
Yeah. Yeah. But of course we know and have had people in our church that have come out of the homosexual community.
And they, yes, there's forgiveness, but we have to stand against this stuff. So
that's at an event. That's after the event. That's before the event. We're kind of trying to get how.
The main thing is having bold men in your church that will go with you.
We only allow men to go these. Why do we do that?
Well, because they're aggressive. I mean, so years ago we started.
The LGBT community is aggressive.
Yes, we have the ability to be aggressive, but we're not.
Yeah, I was going to be really clear that we're not going and being aggressive,
no,
although
these people,
our presence feels aggressive.
Yeah. The gay people are incredibly violent. Like, they're the most violent people out there.
Yeah.
So you've got so that, and it's just the perversity is just not something I'm willing to expose my women to. So we when we started doing this, we didn't know.
Just be clear here. When you say your women, you just mean the women of Ref Church.
Yeah, I was thinking of my wife.
Your wife and your girls.
Yes.
And then we think in terms of our church, all those ladies that are dignified and
I learned this the hard way by taking my wife to the Lexington one.
Yeah.
And she had a guy scream in her face about what he and Jesus did together.
Yeah.
And my wife is not built for that. No. And so I can do that and keep preaching the gospel. My wife is not built for it. Yeah. And after she had to sit down and cry for an hour, I realized I will never take her back to one of those things.
Yeah. And we would argue too that women should be cultivating a quiet and gentle spirit, one that is offended by that, one who holds herself with dignity and purity.
I'm offended by it, but I have the ability to deal with it.
Right. So we do know women that have gone and maybe are able to do that. They're stronger, whatever.
Sure.
But I would encourage them to cultivate a different heart as opposed to a
women
callous
should
to
not
be able to go into that kind of.
Women shouldn't be growing calluses towards this stuff.
Yeah.
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 So.
So where we're at. So
you need bold men. I do not encourage anyone to be taking ladies to this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Frankly, because it is dangerous. We've been attacked at a gay pride thing in Louisville.
Oh yeah, I had my glasses ripped
at the bridge. Oh, they were jerking. Yeah, I thought I was. It's the closest I've ever gotten to hitting a woman.
Yeah.
In my life, she didn't look like a woman, but it was a woman.
Yeah, I was punched in the face, but she actually ripped my glasses off my face, but she hit me back.
Yeah.
And then she literally took my glasses and broke them up.
Yeah. I had a 6.5 foot. Well, he was wearing heels, so I don't know how tall he would be without.
You'll address me as ma'am.
Exactly. I had this super nice open air preaching Bible that was waterproof that I had put a nice leather cover on.
Yeah, I remember that.
And he got a hold of it, and of course he's a big dude, and he's just ripping page after page. He destroyed the Bible. Like those pages were so stout, a woman couldn't have done it. Like he was just like, hand it to Bertha, and he's just started ripping it out. But
this guy has bananas.
But it is dangerous. It is dangerous.
Yeah, it is.
So that's one of the reasons we don't take our ladies. So those are the things that we should be doing to stand against these things. And we're going to be more intentional in Shelbyville. We care about Shelbyville more than we do about Frankfurt or Louisville.
Yeah,
we care about those places, but Shelbyville's ours. Yeah, these are our people.
We've gone everywhere, but we've now kind of not done those other events.
Sure.
And we've just focused here. Now, the Lord has been kind to us this year, especially. One, the LGBT community, they did not have their event this year. So, not last year because it's 2025 right now, but the year before 2023, they took it inside. Yeah. They had to spend over $3,000+ to rent
make this event private
at the local convention here to make it private. They hired security and all this stuff.
Yeah,
and we didn't even go.
No,
it wasn't that we wouldn't have gone to that. We had other things to do, and we had actually affected the change. We're forcing them to spend major amounts of money to go indoors, not be in our public square anymore. Like, go ahead, you do your thing.
We could not have, we would have had difficulty doing evangelism, like actually preaching the gospel to them at this event. We would have just been a protest. And to be frank, if they're going private, like if you get it in the dark behind closed doors, I'm not going to fight it in the same way that I am if it's
you're
out
on the public square.
Yes.
So what we did is we've basically forced them into hiding with this event, which to us was a major win. We've gotten it out of the public eye, and they're having a private event. And what they had to charge for parking. They're trying to make all this money, and it was the lowest event, low key, low energy. Nothing happened.
They'll never do that again. Well, I wouldn't think.
And then so 2024 comes around and they don't have it. They didn't have it
at all.
They didn't have anything this last year. Now they may come back in 2025, and depending on what they do, we may be there in full force. I would love it if we could get 10 churches and show up there with 200 men that just stand there and preach the gospel and hand out tracts and just make your event so miserable that you will never come back to this area again. And that's my goal. That's my objective is to see the church in Shelbyville, not just Ref Church, but all of the churches say, no way is this happening in the public eye.
Because we fear God.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and share one of the things that we had talked about before, and that is, what about a pride parade?
Yeah. So I have become convinced that we have I feel like I have a responsibility. We have a responsibility as God's people, as the church. I was convicted about this years ago because I'd been to several pride parades, and we'd had at least one in Shelbyville. But then I had saw a picture of somewhere. I can't remember if it was South America.
No, you're talking about the Armenian.
Yeah,
and
was it the Armenian? Was it?
We have to look it up. It's a photo, and it's either the Greek Orthodox Church.
It was the Greek Orthodox Church.
Yeah,
but I can't remember where geographically.
I think it was in like Azerbaijan or whatever that is. That Armenia over there, I think.
Okay,
or Georgia. That might have been in Georgia.
It might have been Georgia. That would make sense. But,
yeah.
So they tried to have a big pride parade. And the Orthodox Church just showed up in mass and just stood in the road.
Stop. You will not have this.
And they weren't violent. They weren't aggressive, but they just stood in the road. And they're like, this ain't happening.
It is not happening.
And no, not on our watch. And so I have become convicted that is the responsibility of Christians to stand against this stuff. And if it means some of us go to jail, so be it. It's like, you've got all these, wacko green people that are, sitting in the road protesting, oil or whatever.
5 people holding hands across a major intersection to stop the traffic from happening.
Yeah.
Well, why can't 200 people from the church show up in the middle of the road and stop it?
Stop a gay pride
That's
event.
our commitment for any type of thing that happens in Shelbyville, Kentucky. That's where we're going to be. And like you said, if that means you and I go to jail, so be it.
Well, and here,
I'll take the misdemeanor.
And I would argue, it is what it is. But I mean, if you're going to, but the reality is that the cops should join you.
Yep.
So the local police force, those in the civil magistrates, the mayor,
he should be sitting in the road with you.
He should be standing in the road with.
Standing. Let's stand.
I'm
Let's
not sitting.
We're not going to sit on the.
He should be standing in the road with us. The local police chief should be standing in the road with us. And if they say, well, they have a civil right just like you do to run down the road. Well, ask yourself, what are you going to do when it's pedophilia?
Yep.
What are you going to do when the Supreme Court says it's okay for a 40-year-old man to mess with a 10-year-old girl?
Yeah.
What are you going to say?
It's pederastry. It's okay.
It's just
It's consensual.
10-year-olds can consent.
Yeah, 10-year-old wants it.
And so when that happens, I'm going to be looking at you and asking, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
And I'm asking you right now, if you do not stand against what we all know is wicked, even the gays know it's wicked. If we are not willing to stand against this, what are we going to do down the road? It just is going to get worse and worse and worse. In my lifetime, homosexuality has been against the law.
Yep.
In my lifetime, I'm not an old fella.
Yeah.
This happens so stinking fast.
Yep.
And if we do not stand against this, guys, we lose our communities, we lose our children, darkness. I mean, it's like the dark clouds of Mordor. Like, it is just not going to stop.
Yep.
And unless we stop it.
Yep. So that's our strategy. We've walked this path. We've done these things. We're in the middle of this battle. It's not over. They're coming back in 2025. Let's talk about the Barrel Room.
Yeah.
So they had a local business that was supportive of them, and they started to do drag shows there. That was a way that they could get their outlet and try to make it public.
Yeah.
And so we showed up every single time they did that, and the Barrel Room just closed down.
Yep.
This last year.
Praise the Lord.
And the new owner is committed not to do those kind of kind of stuff. So we're in a good position that way. We feel like we're on the other side of this. If we got a tug of war and get the midpoint, we're definitely we've got the edge here. And
we need to recognize that these types of sin and allowing these things to be celebrated in your community, the lie is that it doesn't harm anyone. The lie is that, they're just, maybe this harms them, but this doesn't harm us.
Yeah.
No, this harms the entire community.
Yeah.
The principle is that when you have a city that's allowing wickedness to be celebrated, God's favor is not going to be on that city.
Yep.
And that's a true biblical principle.
We had another question in here. I'm just going to go ahead and ask this just because it's relevant to this. I'm losing it here. It's basically what happened to the books that were in your library.
Oh yeah.
So we discovered this last summer that our local library was pumping the it had all this books that were in there, and so we did a video and we put some pressure on that. I'm not even sure. I don't even care what the impact of that was, but we as a church went in there and we took all the books out.
Yeah.
And they will never see those books again.
Yeah. No.
We
checked them out. If they get more, we'll do it again.
We'll keep checking it out. We got a lot of people that can just go in there and check out these books, and they'll never return, and they'll never pay a fine, and it'll never. So that's our aggressive stance for these kind of stuff. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah. Well,
and if you take me to court over something like that, good
dude,
luck.
I'll live in court. I don't care.
I will live there.
I just don't care. We have we're talking about whether or not our library should carry books that teach like unbelievable things to our children.
Yeah, it's normal.
Austin Keeler read our fellow pastor Austin Keeler. I can't remember if he did it on the Holy Nope or I think maybe Reformation.
He had a special video for RFM.
Yes, but he did it on what the content of the books in the library, and it was just unthinkable.
Yeah, they're normalizing sexual deviance and
to children that shouldn't even be being taught sex yet.
This is grooming. They're grooming children. They can't reproduce. Homosexuals cannot reproduce. So
except by sodomizing.
Well, no, they can't even that way.
No. I'm saying they produce homosexuals when they abuse children.
So what they have to do is they have to go after your kids.
Yes.
And so how do they go after your kids?
They have to have your kids.
They're going to indoctrinate them from a young age to start asking questions. Well, am I a boy? Am I, who am I attracted to?
Bright colors, and we make it all fun.
These are all arbitrary things. And when God has made them, designed them, specifically for their sex.
Yes.
And they're to be this way. And so it's a repudiation of the image of God, how God has created them, both male and female, and that there's a purpose for that. And sodomy and the whole nine yards.
Almost every homosexual man that I've ever talked to has told me that, and I say that I've had an extensive conversation with. Almost every one of them that I've ever had a long conversation with will end up revealing they were abused as a child.
Yep.
And so homosexuals create homosexuals by abusing children.
Yep.
And if a man will sodomize a man, he will sodomize a child.
Yep.
And there is no way around it. And the Nancys and the little soccer moms that just think it's fun, they get offended by that and they get their feathers ruffled. I don't care. You're allowing your children to be abused.
You're a groomer.
You're a groomer, and you're wicked,
mom are a
and
groomer.
You're a coward, and your husband's the most cowardly of all. And I can't take it.
Yeah.
The video of the gender reveal, the one that goes around online where the guy's like, he's obviously doesn't like it.
Yeah.
He's the biggest sack of garbage. Like, he is a coward.
Yeah.
And it's just, I'm sorry.
So that's how we're attacking these things. Is if this comes up in the public square, we will go after it with brute force.
Yep.
We will be there. We will end it. And these are the ways that we'll do it. So anyways, all right. So that was the question that was asked. And that's a great question. I've been eager to answer that question because I really hope this equips you, and I hope this is something that you can send to your pastor. If this is coming in your area, to send them the link to this video to say, this is how Reformation Church is fighting the battle in little old Shelbyville, Kentucky.
And we need to look into passing laws against this kind of stuff locally.
Yeah.
We need to reestablish local laws and
do you mean like a city ordinance? Because I'm more thinking state ordinance here.
Well,
and we have that potential.
Yes.
To say there should be no. They did it down in Florida, I think. Did the drag shows and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yo, you can do it.
Yeah.
It's doable. You just got to have people with the guts to back it up. That's the problem. It's like right now there are laws against homosexuality on the books in Kentucky, but no one's got the guts to do it.
Yeah.
And so we've got to get men with guts in there. We've got to pass local ordinances and show the state that it can work.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. SnakeOnTheTable.com. If you've got a question for us, we'd love to interact with it and hope to hear from you.
God bless.